Welcome back to another episode of Play by Play presented by Win or Lose Sports. Make sure you like, subscribe on YouTube at Win or Lose Show, and follow us on all social media at Win or Lose Show. Make sure you download the podcast anywhere you can find your podcast: Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Amazon Music. So we're going to dive right into this episode. We're talking about the playoffs, the play-in tournament. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and what's not happening in the Dallas Cowboys, or what's happening, or what they say is happening when you talk about All In, Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones. So we're going to talk about it a little later, but now we're going to talk about the playoffs. The play-in tournament started last night with the Lakers beating the New Orleans Pelicans. We're going to talk about the Warriors also losing to the Sacramento Kings. Well, first, the Lakers beat the Pelicans, who they beat in the in-season tournament finals, or semifinals, should I say, going on to win the finals. And they beat them last Sunday by a big amount. So I think the Lakers were just ready. They've been on a streak, 11-4 over the last 14, 11-3 over the last 14 games. Now 12-3 over the last 15 games. And they got some momentum going on. And I think it's because of how not just the superstars are playing. Of course, LeBron and AD have been playing well, but also you got Austin Reeves, who's been playing well. D'Angelo Russell has been shooting phenomenal this year alone, but over the last 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, he's been great on the floor shooting. And players like Rui Hachimura, Prince. So they have a solid core of players who've been playing consistent, and that's what they need to keep playing like if they even, think about beating the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets, who obviously are the champions last year, the returning champions from last year, and who the Lakers lost to in the sweep in the conference finals last year. So I think the Lakers just need to focus on being more consistent on offense, and that's shooting. Shooting has always been an issue with the Lakers since LeBron got there. He needs solid shooters around him because, he's not going to carry the team shooting threes or being the main shooter on the squad. So D'Lo, Austin Reeves, and Rui and Prince need to step it up. Need to keep up what they're doing over the last few weeks in order to beat Denver. I don't know if they can beat them, but make it comparable. Make it a competition or something that basketball fans want to watch, because Denver is going to be Denver. They're going to be high efficient offense with Joker leading the way. Jamal Murray, of course, running the offense. But Joker is the kind of like the anchor that keeps the offense going. And with players around him like KCP and Murray and Gordon, and Christian Brown, who comes off the bench and plays great. It's just they have a system that Mike Malone put in place that so far no other team can stop. I know this was regular season. They finished in second or third, or second officially. It's just they, as an organization, as a team, have proven to be unbeatable in the playoffs over the last couple of years. So I think the Lakers need to focus on being more efficient on offense and finding a way to make Joker the main focus as far as offense, scoring offense, and not distributing the ball, because that's where he's hurting. It's not that he's a prolific scorer. It's just that he finds ways for his other teammates to get involved for them to win. So when you average 26 points a game, I think 13 rebounds and 11 assists playing the Lakers, that's a lot. That's some big numbers. And the scoring is not the biggest number, even though that's the highest total number. But when you look at the efficiency of the offense or how the ball goes through him, he has the ball in his hand most of the time. But distributing the ball to the other players is what's hurting other teams, what hurts the Lakers. So I think if the Lakers focus on that, making him a scorer and not a distributor and not someone who facilitates the offense, I think that'll help the Lakers win some games, if not win the series. So I think they focus on winning at least one game in Denver out of the first two games and playing high efficiency offense at home. That'll give them a chance to win, to make a decent series. I'm not a Lakers fan, obviously. I'm a Celtics fan, but as a basketball fan, it will be nice to see a good series out of the Lakers, because the Lakers not a bad team. They just have to find the continuity that other teams have right now, that the Denver Nuggets have, that the Celtics have right now, and that the Knicks have right now. The Knicks is probably one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference. But I think the Lakers find that if Darvin Ham can kind of orchestrate that with his team, I think they'll make this series a must-watch series instead of a sweep like it was last year. So in the other play-in tournament game last night, the Sacramento Kings beat the Golden State Warriors. And the question is that everyone's asking today is, should they break up this team? Should they kind of destroy or dismantle the big three in Golden State? And I would say I don't think they should break up the big three, but I think they should modify the big three. Because I don't think this team with Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Klay Thompson can be a championship type team with those three as the big three. So what I think needs to happen is bring in another guy, another superstar. And so you're gonna have to demote two of those guys. You're gonna have to demote Klay Thompson as one of the big threes. You're gonna have to demote Draymond Green as one of the big three. And the reason is because obviously Draymond Green brings a different type of energy, a volatile energy that they don't need. So his voice on the floor is always needed. His voice in the locker room is always needed. But the antics, the technical fouls, the flagrant fouls, the attitude that he gives and it affects the team is not needed. I think that plays a huge part in how they perform throughout the season and in the playoffs. So if you're bringing in a guy who is that voice, and Draymond Green can still stay on that team if he wishes to. I think his contract is up until 2024, so they don't have to trade him. If you keep him on that team and bring in another guy who is a vocal leader on the floor, because Steph is a leader by action. I don't think he's a vocal leader type of guy, a rah-rah type of guy. That's Draymond. So if you bring in another rah-rah type, I don't know who that is. I don't know. I can't name any players that can come into Golden State and be that guy. And you bring in another shooter or develop another shooter and replace Klay Thompson. Not that you have to not sign him. You can sign him. But bring him in and say, okay, because of your performance last year, we're not going to give you a max deal. We're going to give you this type of deal so we can bring in another guy, because we are still focused on winning championships. Steph is going to be Steph. To me, Steph hasn't declined as a player in his older years. He's still that same Steph. It's just he doesn't have the players around him for them to be able to be successful on the floor and win championships. I know they won a couple of years ago, but 3 out of the last 5 years they've been eliminated from the playoffs. And that's not a good look as far as being a franchise, a dynasty franchise. So what I think they need to do is bring in another guy or two other guys that are going to cultivate a winning culture again in Golden State. Keep Draymond, but put him on the back burner. Keep Klay, but keep him. He can't be one of the main guys. And they can do that. They can sacrifice that in order to win. Then the Golden State Warriors wouldn't have to go through a total rebuild, because that's what it's looking like. That's what it's looking like if you don't make this happen this way. You'll have to trade Draymond and trade or not sign Klay. Because Klay would be obviously successful in other places as a shooter. But I don't think he'll be the leader or one of the big three type of guys like he was over the past years in Golden State. So I think Golden State needs to refocus and focus on bringing other people in to make that winning culture the forefront, and not Draymond's volatile actions on the floor, fights in the locker room, fights in practice, or, fights with other players on the floor. Not that there's many fights on the floor, because, it's the NBA. You're going to push and shove, but nobody's throwing blows. It's just a bunch of rah-rah. But, we all know what that is. In the 80s, there were fights on the floor. And you have people like Charles Barkley throwing punches, Shaq throwing punches, Dr. J and Larry Bird throwing punches. But in the NBA now today, it's just a bunch of rah-rah, a bunch of pushing and shoving. When's the last time you seen somebody throw a punch in the NBA and that you can remember? No. So all that to me is a bunch of nonsense. Because if you're not going to throw punches, why are you doing this? Let's go out there and win basketball games, because you still have championship threading in your makeup. When you're talking about the Warriors, you still have Steph Curry. You still have a championship coach in Steve Kerr. And you have players around him who, to be honest, they don't look like a bad team. I think it's so much going on with Klay personally, with believing in himself as a shooter, with Draymond, with controlling himself as a person on the floor. And Steph is dealing with both of these issues all in one. So I think it needs to be a shift in the culture. Hopefully that'll happen. We'll see what happens, with Klay Thompson and the offseason. He's a free agent. If he signs back with Golden State, will it be a max deal? Probably not. Will he sign with somebody else? It won't be a max deal with anybody else, I don't think, either, because of his performance this year. So speaking of signing players, we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and the all-in quote from Jerry Jones was something that Cowboys fans are used to, because we know what that means. We know what that means. Like, we're all in. Oh, we got it. We got everything we need. That's what that means to me, because when you look at the offseason history of the Cowboys over the last decade or so, it's not been many player movements as far as signing free agents. Yeah, we'll sign our own players who are up for free agency, restricted free agents. That's the term in basketball. But as far as us signing players who we thought we would need for us to become a better team, it doesn't happen. And for Stephen Jones to say, fans can't expect us to go out and go all out and sign big names when we have to focus on re-signing Dak and re-signing CD Lamb and Micah Parsons. But when you look at other teams who have re-signed their big name players, they still go out and get the other big name players. And when they do that, they go out and win Super Bowls, win championships, win big in the playoffs. So what is it about the Cowboys organization who think they can fool the fans to say, oh, we can't spend money on Saquon Barkley, who was a free agent. We can't spend money on Henry, who was a free agent. We can't spend money on other big name running backs who we probably need in order for our offense to be more efficient. We can't spend money on them because we have to focus on the players that we have now and spend money on them in their contracts and renewing their contracts so we can keep those players in order for us to win the Super Bowl. No. This is what you do. You sit down and you talk to the players who are on the team, who want to win. Obviously, they want to win because they go out and they perform every week. When you talk about CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, and Dak Prescott, sit down with them and say, hey, we probably need to renegotiate some things or move some things around so we can bring this player in, because that's what other teams do. That's what other players do. Yeah, okay, I'll sacrifice a few million this year or the next few years so we can sign Henry or Saquon so we could become a better offensive team and win in the playoffs. But they make the excuse every single year that, oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. We're all in, but we can't make these moves. That's not all in to me. As a Cowboys fan, it's frustrating for you to say that every single year. We know what the real is. We know what's going on. We know that you are just covering up the fact that you want to be right about the team that you put together. We know that you want to be the perfect GM, the perfect owner, and that's not the case. This is a disappointment every year, especially in the offseason when we see other teams signing big names and max contracts, or not even max contracts, just a contract that'll help their team improve. And we see other players move their contracts around, move their money around, or other teams move their money around so they can sign big names who they need to win championships, or just have a great regular season and a good playoff run. And we cannot do that. That's what's most frustrating. And then you expect us to go all in and believe every year that this is our year. I don't think this year that you're fooling any fans. And I think after this statement by Stephen Jones, who said, we're focused on Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons to make sure we keep those guys. I don't think you're fooling anybody this year. I don't think you're fooling anybody anymore. We need to make moves that improves player personnel on the field. We need a solid running back who's going to stay on the field. We need solid defensive players who's going to stay on the field. We need solid linemen who's going to stay on the field. Going all in is what that means. It means you go out and you find the players that'll help support the players that we have now so we can win those games. I just hope that that there's something to be, free agency it's about over now. Who else is there to sign? Now we'll see what happens in the draft on April 24th. We'll see who we go after, what type of players we go after, and hopefully it's not a quarterback, because not that we don't need another backup quarterback, but signing or drafting a quarterback early, first round or early this year will be a mistake, because now you're putting Dak in a position to where, okay, am I the guy or not? Am I not the guy? Let's focus on signing a good defensive player, like a solid linebacker or a solid running back. Hopefully that'll happen. I don't know. The way Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones operates this team, it makes you not want to watch and not want to cheer. So if you are involved in a Cowboys fan, you are involved with the Cowboys fan, know that we are faithful beyond what we should be, or loyal beyond what we should be. Because we should have been left the Cowboys fan base a long time ago because of how the Cowboys treat us fans year after year. But anyway, like I said, make sure you subscribe and like on YouTube. Make sure you follow us on all social media at Win or Lose Show, and download the podcast on all podcast streaming formats: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you download them. So we'll see you next time on Play by Play. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.